Story, The Thug Life. Kamal Haasan's film now will not see a release in Karnataka until, I guess, he apologizes. There's no release for now, at least. The Karnataka High Court very clearly saying Kamal Haasan has stirred up the hornet's nest. He has to apologize. If he does not, then his film can also wait. And then we're going to take you through the Air India Kanishka bombing. 40 years now since that terror attack took place. Canada's deadliest terror attack that still awaits justice. We're going to speak to one of the survivors of that attack with us right here live. And finally, on our viral watch, the influencer tracking stolen earphones all the way to Pakistan. How he did it? Stay with us. As always, the headlines first. India's active COVID-19 cases crossed the 4,000 mark. Most cases in Kerala, followed by Maharashtra, Gujarat and Delhi. 37 deaths have been reported. Rahul Gandhi accuses the Prime Minister Narendra Modi of surrender, claiming Trump call led to ceasefire. Contrasts with Indira Gandhi's 1971 stance, basically to say that India gave in too easy. Thug life stalled in Karnataka. Kamal Haasan refuses to apologize over Kannada remark despite the court's nudge. Then court finally saying if Kamal Haasan's ego is so big, then even the film can wait. Punjab police arrests the second alleged spy, Gagandeep Singh, linked to ISI, Khalistani terrorist Gopal Singh Chawla. Connections have been established. He's been arrested. Manipur floods affect over 56,000 people. 10,000 plus homes have been damaged. Nearly 3,000 have been evacuated to safety. The northeast particularly worse hit due to unending rains, flood situation that's displaced lakhs of people. Manipur, Assam, both states seem to be the worst hit. BJP's K. Annamalai alleges DMK is shielding key accused in Anna University sexual assault case. Pakistan's TikTok star Sana Yusuf has been shot dead. 17-year-old was gunned down hours after her birthday. There seems to be claims that this could be a case of honor killing. Belgium embassy employee puts up wanted posters of Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in Delhi. The police submit a detailed report to the Ministry of Home Affairs, awaiting a response on that. What's to be done with the Belgian embassy employee for this act? Ram Temple's second Pran Pratishtha ceremonies that begin. Devotees perform the Ganesh Pujan and the Kalash Yatra with sacred Saryu water. All right, let me begin with the biggest story of the day. Kamal Haasan, really one of the biggest actors. Kamal Haasan is indeed counted among legends like Amitabh Bachchan, Dr. Rajkumar, Rajnikant. Well, he is that league of a star. And today we saw the Karnataka High Court schooling a star as big as him. The courtroom made it quite clear that Kamal Haasan has stirred a storm and now he refuses to clean it up. And therefore, he will face consequences. And so Thug Life, the film of Kamal Haasan and Mani Ratnam that was originally slated to release on June 5th all across the country, in Karnataka alike, will now not see a release in Karnataka until Kamal Haasan resolves this standoff with the Karnataka Film Chamber of Commerce. The court did not hold back. It's asked if the legendary Rajagopalachari, who was the then Governor General of India, could apologize for a similar remark that he had made in 1950s. Why can't Kamal Haasan apologize today? Well, the hearing began in the morning. It went on. The bench even took a mid-session break, giving Kamal Haasan time till 2:30 p.m. to clarify if he really wants to apologize or not, so they could end this stiff. The court said the comment made by Kamal Haasan, Kannada is born out of Tamil, has outraged Kannadigas. What's so wrong in giving an apology just to settle things at the earliest? But Kamal Haasan, of course, has refused to apologize. He stood his ground. Kamal HAASAN has very clearly stated in his letter to the Karnataka Film Chamber of Commerce saying that his words have been misunderstood. Again, trying to clarify, without an apology, a clear clarification that what he said was basically a statement that he said out of sheer love for the people of Karnataka, that he wanted to convey unity and not to offend anyone. The letter read in words, I quote, "We are all one family. There is no dispute on Kannada's rich legacy." This is what Kamal HAASAN says in his elaborate letter, saying, I just hope love will prevail. I hope this misunderstanding is temporary. But the court wasn't convinced. The court says that the entire row here could have been diffused with a simple apology by Kamal HAASAN, yet it never came. Instead, the judges has pointed out that Kamal HAASAN's ego seems to be the roadblock here. And the court said it may be Kamal HAASAN or anyone, sentiments of the masses of the state have been undermined. The court even added further, and take a close look at the way the court has wrapped Kamal HAASAN here, saying division of this country is on linguistic lines. A public figure cannot make such a statement. What has happened because of it? Unrest, disharmony. People of Karnataka only asked for an apology. Now you come here asking for protection. On what basis? On what basis have you made this statement? Are you a historian or a linguist? These were, I could say very clearly, harsh words used by the Karnataka High Court, asking Kamal HAASAN on what grounds he made a statement saying Kannada originates from Tamil. Well, BJP, of course, has lapped this up. Karnataka Chief B.Y. Vijendra has hit out at the Congress-led state government for its silence, accusing it of taking a balanced approach for reasons, political reasons, is what basically he suggests. Let's listen in.
ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ನಡವಳಿಕೆ ಏನು ಅಂದರೆ ಹಾವು ಸಾಯಬಾರ್ದು ಕೋಲು ಮುರಿಬಾರ್ದು. ಆದರೆ ಕಮಲ್ ಹಾಸನ್ ಒಬ್ಬ ಖ್ಯಾತ ನಟ. ತಮಿಳು ಭಾಷೆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವರ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅದರ ನೆಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಕನ್ನಡಕ್ಕೆ ಅಪಮಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಖಂಡಿತ ಸರಿಯಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಕಾಲ ಮಿಂಚಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವಿವೇಕತನದ ವರ್ತನೆಯನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕನ್ನಡಿಗರಿಗೆ ಕ್ಷಮೆಯನ್ನು ಯಾಚಿಸಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ ಕಮಲ್ ಹಾಸನ್ ಅವರು.
All right, there you have it. Now, the court finally, at the end, summed it up. Art can wait, ego cannot prevail. The next hearing is now scheduled for 10th of June. Now, taking you through Kerala, after multiple allegations of sexual assault against multiple artists and actors in the Kerala film fraternity, we're looking at AMMA, the association of the film association in Kerala, the Malayali Film Association, has now decided that they want Mohanlal back as the president. So Mohanlal had earlier stepped down as AMMA president following the fallout from sexual abuse allegations against multiple executive members, accusations that came to light through the Justice HAMA Committee report, which documented some disturbing testimonies from women in Malayalam film industry. Though Mohanlal now seems to be willing to return as the president, but on one condition, that the current ad hoc committee must remain, including actor Siddiq as general secretary, who himself faces serious allegations of sexual assault. Now, this has sparked fresh outrage, with critics questioning how a body under public scrutiny could push for continuity over accountability. The ad hoc committee, which replaced the previous dissolved leadership, is now backing Mohanlal's return and says elections are impractical now, as AMMA rules require at least 40 days or 45 days notice. The interim team includes names like Tovino Thomas, Kalabhavan Sajon, Ananya, Joy Matthew and Suresh Krishna. Mohanlal has made it quite clear that he will not contest again and will walk away if at all there are elections post into this body. Basically, he does not want to go through an election process. He says, I will humbly take up the role as the president if at all the current committee remains. This committee was, the names I listed out for you, was an ad hoc committee, but looks like now Mohanlal insists that this committee itself be made the permanent committee. All eyes now on AMMA's general body meeting that's due to happen on the 22nd of June, which will establish whether the Malayalam film industry will choose reform or will retreat behind familiar names. All right, now days after influencer Jyoti Malhotra's arrest for alleged spying, Punjab police has now nabbed another suspected ISI asset, Gagandeep Singh alias Gagan from Taran Taran. Gagandeep's ties reportedly run deep. He was in touch with Pakistan-based Khalistani terrorist Gopal Singh Chawla for nearly 5 years, as per the police investigation. A man often seen with Hafiz Saeed, Gopal Singh Chawla, seemed to be the handler of Gagandeep. In fact, through Chawla, Gagan was introduced to Pakistani intelligence operatives, is what the police has established here. Punjab DGP Gaurav Yadav has confirmed that Gagan has leaked sensitive information on the Indian military movements during Operation Sindoor, allegedly on the instructions from ISI. Listen in.
ਗਗਨਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਰਫ ਗਗਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਤਰਨਤਾਰਨ ਸਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਰਹਿਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੰਟੈਲੀਜੈਂਸ ਆਫੀਸਰ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰੋ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨੀ ਐਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦਾ ਹੀ ਗੋਪਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਚਾਵਲਾ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ WhatsApp ਰਾਹੀਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਸੈਂਸਿਟਿਵ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਭਾਰਤੀ ਸੈਨਾ ਦੀ ਭਾਰਤੀ ਪੋਸਟਾਂ ਦੀ ਉਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਨਾਲ ਜਦੋਂ युद्ध के हालात बने सीगे ऑपरेशन सिंदूर जिहड़ा भारत सरकार वालों शुरू किया गया सीगा, उस दौरान भी इहदे वालों काफ़ी जिहड़ी कि सेंसिटिव इन्फॉर्मेशन PIOs पाकिस्तान इंटैलीजेंस ऑफिसर नाल जिहड़ी कि सांझी की गई।
Well, his phone had over 20 ISI contacts is what the police claim. Money trails show funds received from Pakistan via Indian channels. That has also now been established. With espionage links widening post-Pahalgam, India's crackdown on cross-border spy networks is only intensifying. Investigations are still on to trace the full web. All right, let me cut across now to Jammu and Kashmir. Zero tolerance for terror within. That's the message from Jammu and Kashmir's Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha, who's now sacked 3 government employees over links with Pakistan-backed terror groups Lashkar-e-Taiba and Hizbul Mujahideen. Among those dismissed, a serving police constable Malik Ishfaq Nasir and teacher Ejaz Ahmed and Wasim Ahmed Khan, who's a junior assistant at the JMC Srinagar, are all behind bars now, accused of being active overground workers, aiding terror across the valley. Constable Nasir was exposed in 2021 arms smuggling case, accused of sharing GPS coordinates with LET handlers, even as his brother was a slain LET terrorist. School teacher Ejaz Ahmed was caught last year with arms and Hizbul propaganda, allegedly ferrying weapons for POJK-based handlers for years. That's what's been identified by the security agencies. Wasim Ahmed Khan, meanwhile, was found to be a key player in the 2018 assassination of journalist Shujat Bukhari, helping LET and Hizbul Mujahideen terrorists escape the post-attack. Now, all 3 terminations here were issued under Article 3112 and C, allowing dismissal in the interest of national security without an inquiry. So far, over 75 government employees with terror links have been axed since 2020. As the Jammu and Kashmir administration continues its cleanup of the system within. All right, now in a rare show of unity, we're looking at 16 opposition parties that have come together to demand a special session of the parliament on Operation Sindoor, India's bold cross-border offensive against terror camps in Pakistan. Now, from the Congress, the TMC, the RJD, SP and Shiv Sena UBT, leaders have all come together to sign a joint letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi seeking a full-fledged discussion on the security situation in Poonj, in Uri and Rajouri and the centre's overall response. At the Delhi strategy meet, TMC's Derek O'Brien, Congress's Jairam Ramesh, SP's Ram Gopal Yadav and others were seen aligning their pitch for answers in the parliament. The Aam Aadmi Party has skipped the meeting but says that it will send its own letter tomorrow backing the same demand. The opposition says that the parliament cannot be bypassed on matters of national security, especially one that involves military action beyond the LOC. TMC has even proposed June for a possible session. Once MPs on foreign tours return after building the diplomatic backing there for India's anti-terror stance, they are likely to be having an all-party meet. At least that's what the opposition wants to right now. Let's listen in to Derek O'Brien, Sanjay Raut, both speaking on same lines.
16 parties have written a letter to the Prime Minister demanding, seeking, asking for a special session of Parliament. The names of those parties are here. These are the leaders of the parties. And the letter basically talks about Punj, Uri, Rajouri, and having a free and frank discussion in Parliament. I'm going to give you the names of these parties. Before we give you the names of the parties, why this letter? The government is responsible to Parliament. Parliament is responsible to the people. So it's but natural for all these parties, since the government is responsible, answerable to Parliament, that's why this session, because Parliament is responsible to the people.
अरे मीटिंग की बात मुझे मालूम नहीं मीटिंग है या नहीं है, लेकिन मैं जब आया तो मुझे जरूर बताया गया कि हम लोग मिल रहे हैं कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन क्लब में, एक ड्राफ्ट मंजूर करना है स्पेशल सेशन के बारे में सभी से मिलकर। तो हमने कहा है कि हमने ऑलरेडी स्पेशल सेशन के लिए हमारी मान्यता दी है, हमारे पार्टी ने वो ड्राफ्ट के ऊपर सिग्नेचर भी किया है, तो जो होगा तो हम आपके साथ रहेंगे हमेशा।
So the question is, of course, whether the government will be willing to hold this meeting and to answer some of the questions by the opposition, or keep Operation Sindoor under wraps, away from the House and the nation. We're going to wait and watch. Now, taking you through a horrifying story that's coming from Delhi. A stalker, an 18-year-old Delhi University student, was murdered, her body set ablaze in Sanjay van by a man who had allegedly been stalking her for months together. The accused, Arkshit, a DU school of open learning student, has been harassing this victim, we hear, after she repeatedly rejected his advances. Just a few days ago, he allegedly lured her to a secluded stretch in a forest area, stabbed her and strangulated her, and then set her on fire to wipe out all evidence. Her parents filed a missing complaint after she didn't return home. CCTV then was checked from near Sanjay van, led the police in fact to this very man, Arshkrit Singh, who had gone to a hospital in Pritampura to in fact treat his burn injuries as well. During questioning, he confessed. He in fact took the police to the crime scene himself and said that, basically admitted that he pulled off that crime. The two knew each, for some time we hear that the two of them knew each other. At least about a year they had some connection or at least interaction. But the victim, we hear, had firmly rejected his advances and proposal, which clearly has irked him. Her family says that she was harassed repeatedly, followed her almost everywhere. In fact, he also threatened that girl outside her home once, and that's what the family recollects while the police investigation continues. Let's hear it.
सीसीटीवी कैमरे में मैंने जो देखी है, 8:30 बजे लड़का गया, पहले 9:45 बजे मेरी लड़की वहाँ से निकली भारत में, और वो जो लड़का जो था सरदार जो लड़का था वो 12:57 तक बाहर निकला। मेरी लड़की ना तो मैंने पूरी 4 बजे तक रिकॉर्डिंग देखी पुलिस थाने में बैठ के, वो बाहर नहीं है।
मम्मी ने मना कर दिया था कि इससे बात नहीं करनी, पर ये घर आता था और हम पे ही बोलता था कि आप नहीं करने दे रहे इसको बात, जबकि ऐसा नहीं है। मेरी बहन भी नहीं चाहती थी कभी इससे बात करना, बट ये हमेशा उसको स्टॉप करता था, पीछा करता था। इवन फोन के सारे एक्सेस ले लिए थे उसने, और फोन के सारे एक्सेस लेने के बाद सारी लोकेशन जाती थी। मेरी बहन कोरियन कल्चर सेंटर जाती थी पढ़ने, वहाँ भी पहुंची, वहाँ इसने बहुत ड्रामा किया। मेरी मम्मी अकेले थी घर में, अकेले घर में आ गया और बता रहा कि ऐसे ऐसे हुआ, ऐसे ऐसे हुआ, जबकि वो सब कुछ भी झूठ था, ऐसा कुछ नहीं था।
Very tragic there. The Delhi police has now arrested Arshkrit Singh, booked him for murder, criminal conspiracy and destruction of evidence. Right, taking you through some international news and a heartwarming reflection on her family's recent trip to India. Usha Vance, the second lady of the United States, shared a touching moment that her children shared with Prime Minister Modi about how they felt meeting the Prime Minister. calling it a very special moment. Speaking at the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum in Washington, Usha Vance reveals how her children were so taken by Prime Minister Modi that they put him in the grandfather category. That's precisely what she said. Grandfather category. Prime Minister immediately and instantly felt like family to them, she claims. The kids were so thrilled to meet him. They hugged him. He even sealed the deal by giving them some gifts. And this was memorable for them. Let's hear it.
Meeting the Prime Minister. That was really very special. We'd actually had a chance to meet him before. And it's funny, my kids saw him. They were sort of sleep deprived in Paris. And they saw an Indian man with a white beard and white hair, and they just put him in the grandfather category immediately. So they are very into him. They just love him. And he really cemented his status by giving our 5-year-old a birthday present that day. So when we were able to visit his home, they just sort of ran up. They were hugging him. He was just incredibly kind and generous to them.
All right. Taking you through news from Pakistan. And from what we see here, clearly Pakistan, law and order is a long way for them to achieve. A jailbreak of stunning scale in Karachi has laid bare Pakistan's crumbling law and order machinery. Over 200 prisoners escaped prisons after a series of earthquakes prompted some of the jail officials to unlock cell doors. What began as a precaution quickly turned into a full-blown prison break, with just 28 guards manning a prison of nearly 6,000 inmates. No CCTV cameras in place. Chaos unfolded in the dead of the night. Inmates overpowered staff members. They snatched weapons, forced open the gates, triggered a gun battle that left one prisoner dead, 3 officials injured. In fact, the numbers could be much higher. We hear unofficial reports claim that nearly 20 people have died in this crossfire between the prisoners and the security officials. Imagine. Pakistan's top jail official in Sindh has confessed the staff was outnumbered and unprepared. The Chief Minister calls it a mistake to open cells. Only 80 escapees have been caught. Hundreds of them remain on the run. The warning is out, return or face consequences. But the damage clearly is already done here. A quake may have shaken the walls, but it's Pakistan's justice system that's now truly rattled.
और रात के टाइम पे हमारा इतना वो होता भी नहीं है कि मॉब को हम कंट्रोल कर सकें। बहरहाल उसके बावजूद कोशिश पूरी की और इसमें अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ये बात जो हम कह सकते हैं कि कोई हाई प्रोफाइल कैदी नहीं था, कोई फॉरेन या इंडियन नेशनल कोई नहीं था। इस जेल में ये भी एक बात होती है कि यहाँ पे छोटे छोटे केसेस वाले लोग होते हैं अमूमन।
All right, now Russia, Ukraine, the war doesn't seem to have subsided. Overnight terror from the skies. Russia has fired 112 drones at Ukraine, striking 11 cities. Kiev says 75 of them were shot down. But the damage, of course, is already done. 7 civilians have died, 27 injured. Sumy Bor, the brunt, in fact, cluster rockets rained down on morning traffic, killing 3, wounding 20. President Zelensky called it a deliberate attack on civilians. And then a precision underwater strike. This is precisely the Ukraine's strike and hit back. Ukraine's SBU claims it blew up the Crimean bridge, what you just saw, at 4:44 a.m. using 1,100 kgs of explosives planted on its supports. Months in the making, no civilian casualties. Personally overseeing the entire operation was SBU Chief Vasil Maliuk. In fact, if confirmed, this is clearly one of the most complex underwater sabotage operations that was conducted by Ukraine against Russia. All this as Russia-Ukraine held rare face-to-face talks in Istanbul. They've agreed to exchange more prisoners and return the remains of 12,000 soldiers. Turkish President Erdogan has called this a significant step and pitched a future summit, possibly bringing Putin, Zelensky and Donald Trump all to one table. But no breakthrough on ceasefire yet. Moscow says it wants a lasting deal, while Kiev says Putin's not interested in peace. The two countries, ironically, as much as they're warring, are also trying as much as possible to come to a ceasefire and negotiate. That's not happening, but the war continues. And We're clearly looking at Ukraine at this point, not too sure where and who is giving them the kind of backing, but are carrying out the most defined precision strikes against Russia, really unsettling Russia at this point, at a time when they've got Russia to the negotiation table. With drone wars, underwater strikes and diplomacy on the edge, the battlefield really expands here. And so does uncertainty. Let's just hope this dialogue finally breaks this cycle of war. All right, now finally leaving you with day to night here is this very interesting story that will very soon affect you and I, maybe even our future generations. A breakthrough from Japan could rewrite emergency medicine as we know it. Scientists are developing here artificial blood that works for everyone, doesn't need matching, stays fresh without refrigeration. Now this lab-made blood mimics the real deal. It carries oxygen, clots wounds and lasts 2 years at room temperature. That's really a game changer compared to the 1 month shelf life of donated blood, real blood that flows in yours and my body. At the heart of this innovation here are teams at Nara Medical University and Chow University, some even using expired donor blood to extract hemoglobin, packaging it into synthetic red cells that bypass the whole blood group barrier. Now, with Japan's aging population and shrinking donor pool, the urgency couldn't be greater. Add to that, the need for instant transfusions is in any kind of disaster and rural hospitals particularly, or even war zones. This research at this point could really hit a vital nerve. Human trials kick off by March 2025, and the vision, of course, is to make universal, portable, life-saving blood available to all by 2030. And the space isn't off the table either. This synthetic blood could be a lifeline on deep space missions where real blood storage is impossible. If successful, Japan's artificial blood could become the world's emergency transfusion solution, ready when needed, wherever needed. On that note, we're slipping into a short break. We'll be right back on the other side with 40 years of the Kanishka bombing. The survivor's family speaks to News 9 right here live on the other side. Stay with us.
Cause eggs are cool, cool, cool. Summer में energy हो जाती है कम. खाओ अंडे, energetic रहो हरदम. Eggs are cool, cool, cool. Yes, eggs are.
Sunday हो या Monday, रोज खाओ अंडे.
To be successful in chess, it's about 99% tactic and 1% strategy.
My skills are high enough in chess that even if I make a couple of bad moves, I might still get away with it.
But you come across as a typical good boy that every mother would like to have.
Watch Radico Presents Duologue with Parun Das at these times on News 9.
Welcome back. Now, the remains of the deadliest Kanishka bombing still haunts us. It, in fact, was the deadliest act of terrorism in Canadian history. The worst aviation terror attack until 9/11. Air India Flight 182, Kanishka, was blown up mid-air in June 1985. A bomb planted by Khalistani separatists killed all 329 on board, most of them Canadian citizens of Indian origin, including 24 Indian nationals. The aircraft disintegrated off the coast of Ireland. Bodies and debris washed up near Cork. Canada has called this a Canadian tragedy, but justice, of course, remains largely elusive. Only one man, Inderjeet Singh Riat, was ever convicted in the Kanishka bombing case. Today, it's 40 years since that happened. He, in fact, walked free in 2016 itself after serving 20 years in prison. The others either dead or were never prosecuted. In 2010, the final report of a national commission titled Air India Flight 182, a Canadian tragedy, laid it quite bare, saying Canadian agencies had intelligence suggesting a Khalistani terror plot targeting the flight. They failed to grasp the scale and seriousness of the Khalistani threat. CSIS surveillance was shockingly ineffective. These were the findings. Now, 40 years on, the families are still fighting, not just for justice, but for awareness, for answers, for the world to take note of this Khalistani threat that still looms. This month, a series of events will be held across North America. It starts today in Washington, D.C. The families are using this very moment to call out the nexus between Khalistani extremists, Pakistan's ISI, and the safe haven Canada has become for such elements. Joining me now is someone who lived the horror and then rose above it. Sanjay Lazar was a child when he lost his entire family in the Kanishka bombing. Today, he's an aviation and a law expert, a trade union leader, a hospitality veteran, a public speaker. His journey is, of course, one of grit, but also of that of truth-telling. He wants to speak out, and on this occasion, what better? He's now a vocal activist against Khalistani terror networks as well, particularly their growing influence in Canada. Also joining me here live is Puneet Sahani, a scholar, also an expert on Khalistani extremism. Thanks very much. But Mr. Lazar, let me start with you, and thanks very much for joining us on News 9. Do you believe Canada has truly acknowledged its failure in the Kanishka investigation? Today, 40 years on, how would you remember it?
Namaskar, and thank you, Nabila, for having me on your show from Washington, D.C. At the National Press Club where we are at. Ironically, as you mentioned, Khalistani extremism, we're just 2 floors across from the Sikhs for Justice office. As you show Panoon on your screen, he's 1 floor below us here. No, I do not believe that Canada has acknowledged and put behind them the terrors of the Kanishka bombing. 40 years will be, commemorated next month, this month on the 23rd of June. And like you rightly said, we've put together a whole month of events, which started with McMaster University in Canada, in Hamilton, in Toronto. Now I'm in Washington doing press. I have to thank, of course, Puneet Sahani and Hindu Action, Mr. Utsav Chakravarti, who's put together this theme of events to draw attention not only to the Indian diaspora, but also to the United States government, the Canadian governments, letting them know that the terror of 40 years ago still exists. Whether it's Khalistan, Islamist terrorists, or Pakistan, that's the root of it all. And until and unless we put behind us and get justice for the victims of Kanishka, this cycle is bound to repeat. We see Khalistani terrorists today, literally attacking Indian embassies, whether it's in Ottawa, whether it's in Vancouver, whether it's Toronto, even in the United States, San Francisco. We've seen Islamist terrorists attack, Americans all over this country and abroad. it's a grave problem for us. So I believe it starts at the root. Let's not forget, Kanishka Air India 182 was the worst tragedy, aviation bombing in North American history until 9/11. We've never seen an aviation incident like that.
I want to ask you, what was the hardest part for you, Mr. Lazar? Losing your family to this bombing, and finally looking at the world itself moving on without justice actually being served. The Canadian government has literally let loose for the extremism to breed in the ground.
The hardest part for me was, of course, losing my family, going to Ireland to identify the bodies. But harder than that was, going to the trial in Vancouver and watching the killers get scot-free. My entire family died all over again. After the John Major inquiry, where I participated again in Ottawa, I imagined that the report of 2010 would give us some solace. But it looks like Canada has just forgotten what happened. They're repeating the same mistakes. Khalistani extremists, this cult of terror, actually controls governments across Canada. The last two governments we've seen have had great influence, the Khalistanis. There's nothing in their history books. People have forgotten that this ever took place. It is my, aim and ambition to draw attention to terrorism, Khalistani terrorism, and in specific to my own family's death and those of 331 people in both the bombs in Narita and in Ireland.
I see that you're emotional, and even to this day, you still feel the chapter hasn't closed because there are many of them who are involved are still scot-free. Are they alive?
Yes, two of them are very much alive, and alive or dead, justice has to be done and seen to be done. People must remember and respect this. We have had unfortunately, in our world, we've had so many acts of terrorism, especially on aircraft. People remember Lockerbie. People talk of 9/11. People talk of TWA, of the Korean Airlines. People talk of the Iran Air being shot down. We don't hear people talking anywhere about Kanishka and the Air India 182. Not even in India, not in Canada, not in the US.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about it. It's almost as though they're ashamed that 331 Indians died or Indo-Canadians died on an Air India aircraft. It's shameful, really. It's very shameful.
Let me bring in.
And that's what hurts.
Let me bring in Puneet on this. Puneet, I see Mr. Lazar there outrightly saying the Khalistani extremism has grown and grown to might since the Kanishka bombing. If anything, it had to be nipped in the bud, but it seems like they've got an environment to thrive. How do you look at the resurgence of the Khalistani extremism in 2024-25 as compared to 1985?
Well, things have gotten much worse in the 40 years, and that's the saddest part. And to take just one example, this guy Nitcher, who basically we even shared his videos and subtitled it, where he was from the pulpit asking for suicide bombings.
Yeah,
that guy who cheated, entered into Canada and was a threat. He gets killed, and in the Canadian Parliament they have a motion on him. They have a minute of silence on that thug, who was talking about suicide bombings. And these families are still suffering for 40 years. And nothing happens. There is no motion for them. 40 years commemorating this in Canada. This Angus Reid is one of the most reputed pollsters in Canada. If you see, most of the kids in Canada, this is the biggest thing that happened in their country. Canada is known to be a peaceful country. Kids don't know. This guy Parmar, it's not just, there were two inquiries, one was the trial, and then there is John Major's inquiry as well. And they worked on very, very hard evidence. This guy, we had credible evidence, he made a prototype of a bomb. He blasted it in the forest, how they assembled the transistor. So everything is very hard. So this guy is basically the architect of the bomb. That is not even, a point of doubt or any discussion. That guy has, posters all across Gurdwaras. And now this madness is creeping into the United States. So It's a very, very dangerous thing, and it seems like, we have also like not learnt our lessons. And
but why in your expertise, why do you believe Canada has become this hub, and the United States? You say that entire region seems to be a hub for the Khalistan or Khalistani movement, Khalistanis, anti-India activities. What do you think is the reason?
So, you take like 40 years ago, also it was very risky for Sikhs to speak against Khalistan, right? And people who spoke against it, for example, Ujjal Dosanjh or Balraj Deol, they survived by a whisker. Many other people were actually killed by Khalistanis. But, these people were like street thugs. Now, if you notice what is happening now, these people have infiltrated all the systems of the Canadian government. So if any Sikh speaks against them, and, there is example of, for example, Ramesh Sangha, who has a Sikh, they made a report in 2018 that, this Khalistan extremism is a real problem in Canada. And, this Khalistan is made, you are demonizing the Sikhs. And the Sikh parliamentarian, from like a large Punjabi audience, he represents that constituency. And he said, there is no, Khalistan is separate, Sikh is separate, and, we should speak against Khalistan. So that guy, even though he's a Sikh himself, his constituency is Punjabi. He was called, you are a racist, and kicked out by Trudeau. So these people have infiltrated the institutions of the Canadian states, that now it has become impossible to speak. Earlier, you would be attacked by, by hammers or, swords on the street. Now you have to hear you are a racist in the parliament. So these things have infiltrated, and I think part of the problem is also like the Indian government, which has been very soft on it. They have removed the blacklist of Khalistanis, and which I condemn. And if you look at it dispassionately, it has brought a lot of damage, and there is nobody ready to take accountability for it. And I think we still have a soft approach towards terrorism. India is a country which is soft on terrorism. It was soft on terrorism, and it is still soft on terrorism. And yeah, so I criticize the Indian government as well.
There's been a lot said about the Khalistan movement having its association with the Pakistan ISI. What evidence, in your view, links the Khalistan movement across borders with Pakistan's ISI?
So, several. First of all, they are demanding this homeland from, Himachal to Haryana, and even, this Jat homeland of Tikar, that this is also Khalistan. But they don't ask, for a bit of Pakistan. So, whereas the Sikh homeland, like if you look at Maharaja Ranjit Singh's empire, 90% of that is in West Pakistan, which is now in West Punjab, which is now in Pakistan. Then if you see this Pannu, he's saying, we should support Pakistan. All these people who got training, this is a matter of record. I've shared on my Twitter profile so many times. So all these male militants, for example, even this Parmar, who bombed this Air India aircraft, he was hiding in Pakistan. So he basically, all the weapons they got, from Afghanistan, there is a Pashtun belt around the Afghanistan border called Dera Adamkhel. So from there they got the rocket launchers and all these bombs. And
so
you can even read actually like
where are they funded from?
Reports.
Puneet, could I ask you, are they receiving adequate funds? Who's funding them? We see Khalistan referendum in almost every country of the world. Almost every Western country has a movement going, the Khalistani referendum. Give us a sense on how this population is only growing here and why.
No, the thing is, they have, by criminality, they have captured the Gurdwaras. And in the Gurdwaras, you don't pay taxes. And in Canada, you also have like a Ministry of Multiculturalism. And if you go back, from Mrs. Gandhi's times, for more than 40 years, they have been criticized. So they basically get, this fundings and from, Gurdwaras. And they basically have captured it. So, Pakistan may share be funding. So, for example, in the recent clash we had in Kashmir, like Pannu is like basically nobody was on all their top channels like Geo News and, talking nonsense all the time. But, this Western democracy gives them a lot of freedom to exploit. So they are being funded by the Canadian. Let me give you one example that you'll be blown away to hear. So when this plane bombing happened, it was very quickly found out that the Babbar Khalsa had done it, right? So Babbar Khalsa was the organization which had done the plane bombing. But do you know, it was a charity in Canada. Like you could donate money to it and get, tax benefits. And only when 9/11 happened, then the Americans, started getting serious, and then they were like, we have to ban terrorist groups. So the Babbar Khalsa was banned not in 1985, but in 2003 when the Americans asked them that, you can't have like terrorist groups. Till 2003, you could basically give a charity and get tax benefits if you donate to Babbar Khalsa.
Wow.
I want to chip in.
Yeah, go on, Nazir.
Pakistan. Yeah. 2 or 3 points. Number one, Talvinder Singh Parmar was an ISI stooge. And I say this because he had 2 ISI handlers. They were caught with him and he was shot by the Punjab police when he crossed over from Pakistan into Punjab. That is number one proof of Pakistan's. Jagjit Singh Chauhan, right at the beginning, was supported by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who invited him into Pakistan to set up Khalistan's capital and capture Indian Punjab to add into it. More recently, we saw the killers of Bian Singh and Hardeep Singh Nijjar. There are photographs. There's a Globe and Mail investigative report which links the ISI. They were training in ISI camps within Lahore and outside Rawalpindi. It's very clear evidence. The fourth thing is, even recently, we see that if you look at all the Khalistani movement protests outside the Indian embassy, you will see Dr. Fai, who was an ISI leader, apparently expelled, came to Washington. He lives not too far away from where we are at the press club. He is present and supports financially as well as emotionally. There are a couple of other agents who have been spotted with the Khalistanis in Canada. So there is no difference between the ISI of Pakistan and Khalistan. They are, sons of the same father. So it's a symbiotic relationship. Let's be very clear about that. Add to that the Islamist and the Kashmiri. Terry Milewski has rightly written that Khalistan is part of Pakistan's K2 project, which is Khalistan and Kashmir, to destabilize and balkanize India. So there's ample evidence. I mean, we could write a book on this.
I'll take that final word from Puneet. If you could, in common language for the common man, give us a sense of what the Khalistan movement was all about and what it's turned out to be, Puneet. In a nutshell.
It's a jihadi movement, and there are reasons for it, there are pathologies that go. But it was the most bloodiest movement. And the problem with our Indians is we have very short memories. So I give you like just one statistic. So in 1990 and 1991, right, more 10,000 people died in Punjab. And back, they say like KPS Gill was very strict. Actually, that is the period when Gill was not in Punjab, and then the maximum killings happened. When Gill came, even the terrorists were like, okay, now we have to behave. But when he was not there, there was free for all. So on an average, 500 people were being killed. If you want to understand what that number is, so every month 3 Mumbai 26/11 were happening every month non-stop for 2 years. This was the most brutal insurgency and terrorism that we paid a lot of human cost, and it was the greatness of the Punjabi spirit that somehow we overcame it, and Punjab also bounced back. But this problem is
where did the
control.
Khalistani movement erupt? What was the demand of the Khalistanis at that point? Where did it originate? In a nutshell.
No, the thing is, again, it was never a popular movement. But the thing is, it overwhelmed the Indian state. So it was a terror movement. So if you look at, you'll be surprised. Even after they created Sikh majority Punjab, there would be time when Congress would win more Sikh MLAs than Akali Dal. So the Sikhs are not communal. They would not even wait. Akali Dal, forget about Khalistan. But the problem is, a terror movement can totally overwhelm the state. And then there was like endless killings going on. And it was the greatness of, the Punjab police that, it is the only
But why did they want a separate Khalistan? Why did they want a separate Khalistan?
But again, these people... No, there is no demand. It's a Pakistani thing. Again, it's if you ask for it, it's basically like Kisan Andolan. Like what is black in this laws? Nobody can tell you. But they can totally overwhelm the state by by acting in this way. So there is again, some lunatic will say, Actually, Khalistanis have never explained like what is Khalistan, what would be the status of Hindus there, will it be a theocracy, would be a democracy. So it's basically, you know, the figment of some lunatic's imagination, and every lunatic thinks in his own unique way that he's really special. So that is not the thing. The thing is, there's a terror movement that is, you know, soaked in like bloodshed, and it's erupting, and India has to basically crack down really fast and has to learn the lessons from the 1980s. Otherwise, you know, we'll push you know, our generation to another, like, you know, a dark place.
Right. We've heard you. We've heard both of you. Thank you very much. And we're only hoping and praying that justice prevails. Mr. Lazar, really appreciate you taking that time out and narrating for us your personal ordeal. And Puneet, thanks for explaining. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, quickly, let me cut across to this story that affects all of us in today's day. We're all taking supplements in one form or the other. You have a recent survey on turmeric supplements. So turmeric is hailed as a miracle spice used for centuries in Indian kitchens and even longer in traditional medicine. A new study now by the Drug-Induced Liver Injury Network has now flagged a worrying trend that turmeric supplements are now being linked to liver damage. Between 2004 to 2022, researchers have recorded multiple cases of liver injury in people taking turmeric supplements. Symptoms ranges from fatigue, nausea, jaundice to, in one case, acute liver failure. Some had to even be hospitalized. The turmeric isn't alone. In fact, dietary supplements are a booming industry. Vitamins, fish oil, protein powders, plant-based antioxidants. Most of us are popping at least one a day, and because they are sold over the counter, many take them without any medical guidance, unaware of how they actually interact with our body. We're still popping it without anyone telling you that this is what you're deficient of and this is what you should be having. You just hear that this is good for your body and you pop a supplement. That's more or less the trend now. Now, many of these supplements reach the market without any rigorous clinical trials as well. So you don't even know if these vitamins that you're consuming are really fit for your body. So where's the check? Who's really monitoring what we're consuming in the name of wellness? Let me take you through tonight. Joining us is Dr. Neeraj Nisha, Additional Professor, Department of Medicine, AIIMS, New Delhi. Also Dr. Shikha Sharma, Founder, One Health, veteran nutritionist. Thank you, both of you. Dr. Neeraj, if I could start with you, a quick take on how common is supplement-induced liver injury and how should people really spot the early signs?
So in today's fast world and I will say world of social media, this nutritional supplements have become more of fad. People think that this is these supplements are replacement for healthy nutritious diet, which is something which is affecting a large chunk of population now. So what I will say that supplements should not be taken as replacement for the normal healthy balanced diet which we always advocate for our patients or for in general for our normal population as well. So this habit of taking supplement for everything and thinking that this is going to benefit, there will be no harm in taking this supplement, that is something which is worrisome.
So without doctor's guidance is where the problem lies. But ma'am, as a nutritionist yourself, Dr. Shikha, is turmeric safe in food but risky in supplement? This question is a little confusing. What's really the difference in your view?
See, definitely, I think it's a very important question because when you look at food and when you look at turmeric in food, now turmeric is coming with synergistic molecules. That means when you're having turmeric in its natural state, there are the synergistic molecules which counterbalance that turmeric impact and also potentiate some parts of the. So when you are having a product, when you have it in a product form, you are basically having an extracted thing. Like in the case of turmeric, curcumin, the active flavonoid is extracted and then put in a capsule. First thing what happens when you do this extraction is that it becomes highly available, much more than what it would be available along with its countering. So in a turmeric, like in a normal kitchen, it would have a counter thing also in the molecule. But here it is just the active compound without its countering element. Second thing is the dosage is very high. So what you get in the kitchen, the dosage here would be 10 times, 20 times. Third thing is that because you're having in a capsule form, so normally when you have turmeric, you will have only little bit because it's going in a dish or it's going in a particular way. But when you have it in a capsule, you can pop 3 capsules, 4 capsules. There is no control.
Yeah.
And most of these side effects are because of overdose. I mean, any good thing, any vitamin, anything which you would take, like for example, when I was working in the hospital as a doctor, at that time we used to, for women who were expecting and they had very low hemoglobin, we would give iron supplements because the pregnancy was due and we did not have time to build the hemoglobin. We would give iron supplements. But it does not mean that something which is good in a dose, you can just have excessive and then it will still be good. No, it will be harmful. So the same goes for all these nutraceutical products. The dosage has to be controlled and it has to be explained to the patient. I think today what is happening, people are popping pills just like that.
A quick word of advice from you on those taking multiple supplements daily without medical advice. What would you say?
I would say it's highly dangerous because at the end of the day, these supplements are very active compounds. I mean, yes, they're herbal, they're natural, but it does not mean that you can overdose yourself because that's what people are doing. So I think there should be some regulation. Only there should be some training to the so that people know what they are taking. B, I think some supplements should come under licensed nutritionists so that they can advise in the right way, because today I think people watch something on Instagram, they watch an advertisement, they watch something and start pumping all these supplements.
A last word from Dr. Neeraj.
So again, I will just echo the words of Dr. Shikha. It's what happens, especially those patients who have comorbidities, who are on multiple other medications. If you take all these supplements without guidance of a doctor, then what will happen that these drugs may actually interact with the medications which are essential for you. Say somebody is on blood thinner and you are taking a particular supplement which may affect either potentiate the effect of that blood thinner or decrease the effect of that blood thinner. That could be catastrophic for that particular person. So all I will say, whatever pill you are popping, it's not safe. Any external medication which you are taking, which you are subjecting your body to, that will have some side effect if not taken properly. So excess of everything is bad.
Establishes just that. Thank you very much, both of you, Dr. Neeraj and Dr. Shikha, for joining us with your expertise. On that note, it's a wrap for me right here. Thanks very much for tuning in. Same time, same place tomorrow.
Every brand tells a story. And they are the storytellers, the Sutradhars. They present a brand with band, baja and barat to you. They are the Brandwalas.
Is this politics of appeasement?
That is the ground reality.
The violence continued unabated for the next 24 hours. Why is there Mamta for Pahalgam but not for Murshidabad?
Everyone in Pakistan is saying that India has punished us. You are all agreeing that Operation Sindoor is a success. तो प्रॉब्लम क्या है? किसका नमाज़े जनाजा निकल रहा था बहावलपुर में और रावलपिंडी में?
To be successful in chess, it's about 99% tactic and 1% strategy.
My skills are high enough in chess that even if I make a couple of bad moves, I might still get away with it.
But you come across as a typical good boy that every mother would like to have.
Watch Radico Presents Duologue with Paruntas at these times on News 9.
What is To the Nines? In literal terms, it's perfection. But to us, it's not just a phrase, it's an attitude. One that starts at your desk and sends a statement to the world. To the Nines is about taking charge. It's a way of life where every seam, every fold, is crafted with excellence. It's timeless elegance and uncompromising quality made for the corner office. It's the ideas that inspire redefining order and elevating the tabletop. To the Nines, for the leaders of today and the visionaries of tomorrow.
Fertility rates in South India have dropped more sharply.
In the future, you can see it going further down. Population aging is definitely a cause of concern.
This is an alarming situation. Horror of horrors, the Pollachi horror. Anna University case is despicable.
Of course, there is a political angle everywhere involved.
Can they ever erase the trauma of these Tamil women?
They give a lot of psychological counseling and support to the victims.
Can we still make up?
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9 English.